Titanic, the world's most famous shipwreck and one of the greatest maritime disasters in modern history. This massive ship set sail from Southampton on April 10, 1912, but just 4 days later, on the night of April 14th, it struck an iceberg and sank completely by April 15th. Carrying approximately 2,224 passengers and crew, Titanic became the scene of a tragedy in which more than 1,500 people lost their lives. But why did Titanic sink? What happened that night? And how did this disaster change the world? Titanic was a luxury passenger liner owned by the White Star Line. Its construction began in 1909 at the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast. The ship was 269 meters long, 28 meters wide, and weighed 46,000 tons. Its interior was as extravagant as the most luxurious hotels of its time. It featured gymnasiums, a swimming pool, reading rooms, and grand ballrooms. Titanic had 4 large funnels, but one of them was purely decorative. It was believed to be unsinkable due to its 16 watertight compartments. However, since the tops of these compartments were not sealed, water overflowed from one section to another in a chain reaction. The Titanic was considered unsinkable, yet history proved otherwise. But do you think the disaster could have been prevented? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's discuss how this tragedy might have been avoided. And if you love exploring history's greatest disasters, don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating stories. The Titanic set sail from Southampton on April 10, 1912, bound for New York. The ship stopped at the ports of Cherbourg, France, and Queenstown, now Cove, Ireland, to pick up passengers. There were 3 classes on board. First class, wealthy and famous passengers stayed in luxurious suites. Second class provided a comfortable journey for middle-class families and business people. Third class, affordable accommodations for workers and poor families emigrating to America. On the night of April 14th, while sailing across the Atlantic, the crew received iceberg warnings. However, these warnings were not taken seriously enough. At 11:40 p.m., the ship's starboard right side struck a massive iceberg. After the collision, the ship began taking on water rapidly. At first, passengers were told not to panic, and some were unaware of the danger. But soon, the terrifying reality set in. The ship was sinking, and there was no way to stop it. One major mistake was the lack of life jackets and lifeboats. Titanic had only 20 lifeboats, which could hold a maximum of 1,178 people. This meant it was impossible for everyone on board to be saved. Captain Edward Smith and the crew ordered women and children to board the lifeboats first. However, many lifeboats were launched with far fewer passengers than their full capacity. At 2:20 a.m., Titanic broke in half and disappeared beneath the ocean's surface. After the disaster, the RMS Carpathia rescued 710 survivors. However, hundreds of people waiting in the freezing waters died from hypothermia. Following the Titanic tragedy, major changes were made to international maritime regulations. The 1914 International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, SOLAS, was introduced. Ships were required to carry enough lifeboats for all passengers. Radio communication laws were changed, requiring 24-hour monitoring. Today, the wreck of Titanic lies 3,800 meters deep at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Discovered in 1985 by Robert Ballard, the wreck has been extensively studied over the years. Titanic was not just a shipwreck, it became a symbol of human error, class division, and technological arrogance. The disaster inspired countless books, documentaries, and films. James Cameron's 1997 movie Titanic captivated millions by blending the tragedy with a love story. Even today, Titanic remains a haunting reminder of how vulnerable humanity is against the forces of nature.